Hello, and welcome to new update from the markets middleman. Today is Monday, February 23, and I'm about to share some of my views for this upcoming week, which is the last week of February. So, ever since my last update, the DXY refused to turn bearish on the hourly time frame and reclaimed the week closing a little bit above the high of last week, but at least above the opening range of the previous week. So I think the odds playing in the bullish favor is a little bit higher than the bearish favor, and we're gonna go through this on the hourly time frame just for a clearer perspective. Now, first, before the hourly time frame, let's get clearance that the weekly, as I mentioned, closed a little bit above the weekly last weekly high. So this was the candle of Friday, closing above the weekly high. And we've had the DXY going sideways, okay, refusing to go fully bearish after breaking this structure over here and resuming actually bullish price action with couple of consecutive break of structure followed by this one on the hourly time frame. So I have this level aligning it with the daily. It is a significant level pointing to a previous buy side, couple of daily low sell side. It was the high of the NFP news. Price traded above, refused to close above it last week, and right now, ever since we closed fully above it, tested the buy side liquidity, we haven't tested this level yet. So when I was checking today on the hourly time frame and on the H1 time frame, I saw that this level over here is really significant. So you can see this was the last imbalance that is still open for business during this week. So this is most visible on the 6 hour. Before I even move forward into the 1 hour and tell you what I'm expecting, I want you to notice the significance of this level over here. Just observe how price respected this level. Not so much here, still the candle closed, then displaced below, took it as a buy side during the news again. Price traded above but refused to close above it until this candle came over here and closed fully above it. So this is the 1 hour fair value gap aligning with the daily and 6 hour framework that is really the optimal for buyers during this week. So if I see the DXY trading around this level over here, I really think this is the optimal and the last point of defense for buyers. From here, I want to see price sweeping Monday low. Look what happened today after the market opened. So the market opened with the gap lower, okay, traded below. It did not tap into this area yet, so it generated some sell side liquidities, okay, and it made a push to the upside. Now the push to the upside, I'm not convinced that we're gonna go up from here simply because there was no bearish fair value gap that got inverted directly. It's a wide fair value gap. This is one. Second, there was no clear break of structure yet. So we just see swing low, swing high. If right now I see a sweep of buy side and the price already tested this level and then I saw this displacement to the upside, then yes, I'd be convinced that this is an actual displacement to the upside. But this wasn't the case, and the lack of breaker, lack of an inverse fair value gap made me doubt this move just up until New York session open. So I was still thinking that okay, maybe price reached a 6 hour fair value gap and just want to go up from here. But once I saw the 6 hour time frame that it left an unbalanced fair value gap on the 6 hour, then I thought about it again. So this candle just balanced this 6 hour fair value gap but refused to close above the 6 hour order block. So this gave me a lot of information that we're no longer bullish, at least short term. Of course, overall, I'm still bullish with the last point of defense for buyers over here. But short term, I mean, price can still trend lower. So moving into Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on the characteristics of this week, I am anticipating more accumulation throughout this phase, a manipulation move to sweep Monday's low, tap into the 1 hour fair value gap, and then push higher. if I see that buyers are not respecting this level and I see that price displays below, I think this could be the end of the bullish narrative, and it really would depend for me on this level. Unless it was like a fake move, but I don't think so. I think if price is gonna respect this level, it's gonna respect it on a 1 hour close. So price should actually respect this level. Now, uh, the alternative the alternative option, and in case price wants to not to balance this level and just go up from here, I would demand another break of structure. Okay, I would demand something like this, and then I have this as a breaker, and then I would continue pushing to the upside. Why I'm still convinced so far, as long as we're trading above this level, that the DXY can still be bullish. You see the acceptance over this buy side liquidity over here. Okay, so we see that price during last week was able to close at least not only 1 hour above the previous buy side, but also closed another session above the buy side. It was also able to close a 4 hour candle above this buy side over here. So this is why I call this a break of structure. So we already broke the structure to the upside. But of course, it's not like when you're trading support and resistance, so the resistance was broken, thus I can be buying from here. In fact, buying from here is a very bad idea. And I was very aware of this during last Friday because price already made a buy side and then swept it again. So really, like, there was nothing to buy DXY from after London session, the silver bullet of London session. After this candle over here, I'm not strongly bearish on DXY, but at least I haven't bought the DXY. In other words, I haven't sold EUGU because it was clear that the DXY had complete its program. But the acceptance above this buy side and the close above it gave me a hint that price is not afraid to close above this buy side, and any potential retracement to the downside is just a retrace to continue the overall narrative. So how the weekly closed, how the daily closed, and how the hourly is formed already, I think there's more upside for the DXY, at least for now. So I'm anticipating probable sweep of Monday's low and then a continuation to the upside. Of course, we're resuming fully bullish after I see another daily close back above this breaker. Until then, we are definitely so bullish until this minor buy side, which is a daily fair value gap, and potentially no one knows reaching this buy side over here, which is the high of January. So translating this into an actual setup on EUGU, this is what I'm gonna be breaking down next. So moving forward and starting with the EU on the weekly time frame, same narrative applied on the XY, we can apply it on EU. So EU closed well below, so it's more visible to close below this candle's low. So this weekly low should or have high tendency to be taken. If I translate this on the daily time frame, and if I just really want to choose one point of interest on the daily time frame, it would be this order block. So even though it's small, yes, I know, it's not as significant as other order blocks, but this is why I focus on the body only. So this was the only up closing candle within the whole wave to the downside. So if you see aligning this daily OB, you see a lot of liquidity was generated around this level. It was also a previous gap open. So the same significance of this area on DXY, I see the same significance at this area on EU. So we clearly see that price pushed lower and then trended also a little bit lower, clearing the break of structure. If I extend this to this side, you see how this candle closed below the open of this candle. And also on the hourly time frame, it's much more visible and much more confirmed on the euro. So on the 12-hour time frame, I don't think we reached the optimal bullish areas yet. I see this 12-hour fair value gap is still open for business. So I see weekly candle close below. So we are definitely bearish on the weekly and the daily time frame. I see a potential, still a potential to the downside. So the draw on liquidity is there. Okay, so the bias bearish is confirmed, the draw on is confirmed. Do I have like a significant point of interest to continue shorting from? Yes, I do have on the daily slash the hourly time frame. So those 3 points, when they exist in my narrative, I'm all set and ready to execute once price gives me a potential to. So what I expect from the EU moving forward into this week, you see this day, or actually price opened this week with the gap to the upside, to the downside. Sorry, let me show you the gap pretty clear. It's a gap to the upside, I mean. So market gapped higher, okay, reached a 4 hour, 8 hour fair value gap, which caused price to push lower. Of course, I mean, price can do anything. Let me show you this uh, 8 hour structure real quick. It's really a very nice structure. It's really a very nice structure. This 8 hour fair value gap aligning with the breaker. And I thought in the morning that, okay, this could be it. Simply, this could be it. That price wants to go lower from here. But because I have a daily order block above this level, and because DXY have not tested the 1 hour fair value gap, this is why I need a further confirmation. I need something else to convince me that we're gonna head lower from here. And what's gonna convince me to head lower from here is a simple break of this breaker over here. Why? Because after this low, price created the last swing high. So this low over here again was the last low created by the market before it pushed higher. That's why there's no clear break of structure, even though I see this nice sell-off. In fact, after price swept this sell side liquidity, which was the closing price of Friday, what price did on the 1 hour time frame? It swept the sell side, refused to close below it, then we had a bearish fair value gap, got inverted directly, and price was not quite afraid of this bearish fair value gap. So what would convince me that we're gonna still see lower prices without actually taking the daily order block is the following. I want another break of structure from this breaker over here and this significant breaker over here. Only then I can, okay, make an acceptance that price don't wanna reach the daily order block yet, and then I would search over a daily, or sorry, a 1 hour order block slash fair value gap, and I would short the market during Tuesday until the sell side. But I do think, okay, with what's happening on the DXY and the potential to visit the 1 hour fair value gap, I do think that we might very well see, sorry, we might see a continuation to the upside first, okay, tap into this 1 hour order block. Then if we see another displacement higher from this breaker over here, tomorrow we can be short-term bullish until we manipulate and sweep this or tap into this daily order block. Notice how important this liquidity was over here. And then I want to see a break in market structure and a continuation to the downside. The first draw on, if I'm about to take short from here, first draw on is those two relative equal sell sides, which is last week's low. This is the very first target and the significant target, and the second target would be this sell side over here, which is a 12-hour fair value gap. And in case things went as planned and we saw another break of structure, maybe some consolidation to the upside, there would still be business open until this sell side over here. So I'm short term bullish on EU, and medium term during this week, I'm hopeful that we see such a change, or I mean such a retrace, so that we can continue our shorts. Again, small acceptance I would make in case we don't want to see the daily order block is if we can see break of structure to the downside, and this is already a 2 hour breaker, maybe a retrace into it, and then a continuation to the downside. Last but not least, let's jump into GU and finish this outlook. So for GU, I think it's pretty obvious how price was able to displace below this low over here on a daily closing basis. So this is the most reliable time frame when it comes to the higher time frame. It gives you as much information as you want, at least to identify a higher time frame bias. And it's clear how price made this low, displaced below it, made this low, couldn't actually tap into this high over here. So this high was always protected, created also an internal low, displaced the internal and the external low. So the bias is really simple and very straightforward, which is super bearish on the GU. And the draw on, I spoke about the potential bullish daily fair value gap, but I wanted to see this getting swept slightly. And after this day, I want to see a break of structure to the upside. But if price continued to go to the downside, then this is clearly price is trying to tell us something else. So the next draw on becomes those two relative equal lows over here in addition to this sell side over here. So we've seen GU trending higher within a long time, and after sweeping this two relative equal buy sides, it created the daily BPR, which I spoke about. It gave us a significant short opportunity from the daily BPR targeting this sell side over here, which was a little bit earlier than the than what price delivered, but at least it was nailed down in terms of aligning the higher time frame with the hourly time frame narrative. So my plan is pretty simple, and I think it's pretty obvious for this week, is a manipulation into this daily bearish fair value gap aligning with this sell side liquidity over here, and definitely a continuation to the downside targeting last week's low, this sell side, and potentially this sell side as well. So uh, when it comes to the hourly time frame, there's very similar it's very similar actually what price did during today with the EU. So I think short term we can be bullish. Maybe price is stuck a little bit in the range, and this is exactly what I want to see before I want to anticipate any move. There's those two relative equal sell sides more visible on the Owanda charts and the New York sell side. So I expect one more sweep to the downside, maybe after market close. So right now it's 3 minutes prior to the PM session. So I think maybe either during the PM session or during Asia session, price could still sweep those sell sides over here, and then I want to see a potential retracement into the upside. So price would fill an accumulation, last push higher as a manipulation to tap into the daily fair value gap, and then I want to see a continuation to the downside. As always, when I set any narrative, I try to build the alternative for it. So in case price wants to just trend lower from here, did it actually reach a point where it can actually trend lower? I think yes, because this 4-hour fair value gap was really significant. It has double breaker and a fair value gap. So price can actually still push lower, and this daily fair value gap will come to would be balanced maybe later on in the future. I don't know, but in order for me to really trust the fact that we're gonna go bearish from here, I'll consider this as a low that the market already created. It's much more visible on the 2-hour or even the 1-hour time frame. So I'm expecting that this is the low that should be taken, and also this low. So those two lows are the breaker blocks. Why the breaker? Because again, this was the last low the market created before it made the last potential higher low, or higher high, sorry. So if I see a sharp displacement during tomorrow, then I would look into a bearish fair value gap slash order block, any PD array, that then only then I'll be able to capitalize on this push to the downside and really be able to confidently target those two relative equal sell side as well as the draw on from the daily. But I still do think, again, based on how EU and GU and DXY, sorry, are performing, I think that a push to the upside would still be possible, tapping into the daily fair value gap, and then I want to see a break of structure to the downside. So this is it. I think that's more than enough for the preparation for this week. Keep an eye on those levels, especially on DXY. If it really has the potential to test this fair value gap, I think it would be significant to see how price is gonna react. Just to remind you guys that none of those ideas are meant to be financial advice. This is just for educational purposes only and a personal documentation purposes as well. So take that just for an observation. Try to learn as much as you can from what price is delivering. And thank you if you made it that far. I see you in the next update.